Alright, lad, so last night FGO did a live stream as they usually do for new events, and I do want to say I am very excited because I have heard the new event is a lottery event, and I am desperately in need of that over on the JP version of the game. So this is a banger follow-up from the arcade collaboration event to this one, but the new servant that's come out is an AoE quick assassin, which I know everybody can groan in the comments that we got another AoE servant, but this one actually appears to be a very strong AoE assassin, which we're kind of in desperate need of. I mean, she's kind of able to do some good modern damage because I did peep how much damage she's able to do, and I did kind of skim over her kit, but I'm going to kind of go over it in today's video, but she does actually seem like a very decent servant. Now, a funny thing that did happen to me is that when I woke up and heard that we're getting Kashin Koji, I was like, where have I heard that name before? This sounds so familiar. Is it like Dynasty Warriors? Did I play it in some other game? No, it's a character from Boruto. It's like old Jiraiya. I haven't seen Boruto, but it's like some old Jiraiya clone thing. So if you're like, man, why does this sound familiar? It's probably from the discussions when this dude actually came out. So I just think that's really funny, but let's go ahead and just start diving right into the servant. Now, for some reason, the wiki does not have the attack stats and everything, so I have the Atlas Academy pulled up over here. She's going to have a lot of HP, because keep in mind, this is pre-FO. 13.5 is actually pretty decent, and then 12.6 is actually a pretty decent attack stat as well, considering that she is an assassin, and she's going to need a bit of a higher attack stat, because assassins basically have a negative class damage multiplier. If you don't know what that means, every single class has like a different modifier they get when they attack. Avengers are very, very high. That's why they tend to do a whole lot of damage. Assassins have like absolutely nothing, so that's why they tend to not do a whole lot of damage, and you need to do a lot to make them do some damage, right? Because their own class is working against them. But they did give her a pretty decent attack stat to kind of help balance that out, I assume. And if you look over here, she's got decent NP gain, but I do know that she has like 8 hits on her NP, so they kind of balance that out. And it looks like we actually might have like a really, really solid quick AoE looper for the assassin class. Now, ultimately, I don't think this servant is going to replace someone like, say, Rikyu, who is also a quick AoE servant that's rocking like a 50% battery, and as a berserker, she's essentially the Summer Ibuki for quick loopers, pretty much the main one you want to be using, because not only is she really good at it, but she's also super effective against everything because berserker class. But this might be a good alternative for some people, and you know, let's just start diving into some of what her skills actually do. So this first one I think is really interesting, giving yourself the 30% gauge with the 20 stars and the 1 hit of party invincibility. These are all just like very nice effects that if you want to bring her into more difficult content, it's very nice, because Scotty doesn't really provide very much survivability. She just has like the dodge on her NP, which may not be enough. This is offering you another layer of survivability for the entire party, which can be very nice. It is only 1 attack, but if you use this when there's an incoming NP, you can essentially protect the entire party, and that might just be good enough. The battery over here, 30% is also pretty decent when it does come to farming, especially because I do know as well that they broke up 2 of her battery skills just in case you need to use multiple batteries as you go along farming, so I also like that. And the immediate access to stars is kind of nice, although she is, again, an AoE assassin, so she is going to be dropping stars all over the place, especially because she's a quick AoE assassin. You know, dropping stars really should not be that big of a deal for her with her natural star gen, you know, dropping an AoE NP, and the fact that you mainly want to use quick cards, but it is going to be a nice way for her to kind of kickstart her first turn, because, again, you don't usually start off with turns on your first turn. You usually gen stars your first turn, and then get access to them on the second turn, but this allows her to get immediate access to stars, and I think that's really, really cool. Our second skill over here, I really like what they're kind of doing with this one, because you get the 30% quick buff, which is nice, and then you get the 20% attack buff over here, so she is double buffing herself for 3 turns, which again is very nice. It's one of the few things that I compliment people like Karna and Arjuna on, where they give themselves the card buff plus the NP damage buff, because I'm like, well, you can do some decent enough damage, especially if you're Karna, but they only have that for like 1 turn. She's got it for 3 turns, so having these 2 different buff types that are now multiplying into each other is very strong. But then you've also got this effect that, again, if you want to use her in more difficult content, they've given her 2 separate batteries, quote unquote. The first one is over here, but this one is more for sustain. Anytime she hits somebody with her quick cards over here, she's going to get 10% NP, which is very nice, right? She doesn't have a triple quick deck, so it's not as accessible, but again, you should still be finding your quick card relatively frequently, as long as you know how to manage your cards, and you're not like pushing them off and never seeing them again. So I do like that, on top of her quick cards already being pretty good with 5 hits on them. Again, you don't have like the insane like Okita Jack NP gain on the high quick cards, but it should still be fine enough because they're being reinforced with this. So they're getting 10% every time you fire them. I think that's very, very nice. And again, I like the fact that they've given her like some farming utility with the immediate battery, right? If you need to get that little bit of extra NP back, or if you're in a more difficult content stage, you need to get that extra quick NP boost, right? That can be also very, very nice, that if you need that sustainability, she does have that. I like that she's got the capacity to kind of do both things very decently. And then over here, I mean, this is kind of like, I guess, the big like McChungish drop everything kind of skill, because she has the bound ability, which this should be different from a stun. This is the same thing that Shiro Amakusa has, that like it kind of bypasses normal stuns because it's technically a different thing. But then she's got this huge star weight with this massive 100% crit damage over here. That's going to allow her to absolutely eviscerate whoever you throw her at. And I do absolutely like this. Now, I did have this pulled up over here because when I first was skimming through this on the wiki, there was like this huge blank spot over here. And I was like, is there anything else over here that I'm maybe just missing because it's on a 7-turn cooldown? And no, I think it's just on a 7-turn because they really do value stuns plus the very massive crit damage she's able to do. But if you time this correctly, you can absolutely melt a boss's HP bar, especially because Scotty is going to be giving you 100% quick crit damage, and then the Ruler Scotty is going to give you some Buster crit damage, and even though you only got the one, you can still kind of make use of that to kind of cover both of your bases, plus this, you're going to absolutely melt whoever you're throwing her up against. Finally, there's her NP, which I think synergizes with that bound effect very nicely, because if you do want to use this on your turn 3 for farming, you're going to get this very nice special damage mod, as long as you're able to land it, because keep in mind, even though bound does kind of get around some of these stun resistances and stuff like that, it can still miss because it is 100%. You may think, well, 100% is guaranteed, but well, that's not really how resistances work in FGO. If you have like, say, 20% debuff resistance, this is now like an 80% chance to land, which is still very high, but just keep in mind that it's not like guaranteed to land every single time. Very similarly to like, say, Arjuna Alter, right? So Arjuna Alter sometimes can miss doing the Buster down on his NP and then he looks a little bad on very rare occasions. I think that's going to be something that she also has, where if you're not landing the bound, she's not going to be doing as much insane damage as you would kind of think she should be able to do. But I do like that because this may be an issue, right? They built in a bound effect into her overcharge, right? From anywhere from 60 to 100% that procs before she does damage and then gives her a special damage mod against them. I think that's really good, and that's why she's able to do such insane damage up here. Now, I do want to say, yeah, keep in mind that she is so high up here because most people are accounting for the fact that you probably are going to get that bound off because you have a skill to proc it and you have it procking on NP. So she should be looking really good most of the time. This should generally be some very free damage, especially when it comes to farming, but I do want to also stress that you can whiff it, and if you do whiff it, her damage is going to go down a lot, because not only is she losing out 150% extra damage, but this is also a multiplicative buff that is multiplying into her second skill over here with the quick buff and the attack buff. So you are going to be losing out on quite a bit of damage if you don't land it, but again, at the same time, you've got 2 different ways to land the bound. Overall, is this like a must summon servant? I don't think so. She just seems like a very strong option. She just seems like she'll be very good in the quick meta, but if you do go and summon for Kashin Koji, I think you're putting yourself in a pretty decent spot if you need a good quick looper, because she just seems like she'll be generally pretty good. The only thing that I'm kind of worried about when it comes to her being an effective, really strong quick looper is that her natural NP gain is a little low, and she doesn't have any like NP gain boosts or anything along those lines. Like no 20 to 30% NP gain buff to really help fix that up a little bit, but I'll have to see how she performs going forward. But I do think she'd be like a solid like B+-ish A tier servant. I'm trying to think for like the rest of the year and like some other servants that might come out. I'm like, she definitely will sit there as like a very solid release for the year, but nothing super insane. I almost kind of think of her in the same light, and this might put a bad taste in some people's mouth, but I almost think of her a little bit as Pope Joan, where Pope Joan is very solid as a servant. She just really wasn't needed for the time. We've already got a lot of really strong arts AoE servants, and I kind of think about that for Kashin Koji, where she is definitely a very solid, strong servant, but she's not exactly needed because we already, again, do have people like Rikyu who are really good at farming. We also have Huyan, who released last year, who's also a quick AoE assassin who might just be good enough if you already have her. But again, just another interesting, solid option if you don't have anybody else. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you guys going to be pulling for this servant? I'm just more gassed that we actually have a lottery over here on the JP version of the game because I am in desperate need of QP EXP cards because I finally got my Morgan to Grail level like 102 or something, so I'm starting to get that journey to 120, so I need all these materials right to get her done. But let me know all that in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one when I am going to be back from my vacation and everything should be back to normal, which means streams will be coming back. So, you know, description down below, Twitch, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, all that good stuff. And I'm out. Peace.